What's up, you guys? Chase the Dark Sage here, and today we are back with another video. In today's video, as you guys can see from the title, I just got out the theater from watching Dragon Ball Super Superhero. When I first heard that title, I really wasn't feeling it at first, but now actually seeing the movie and seeing what that title actually kind of represents, I could dig it. So let's go ahead and talk about the review. But first, I want to talk about my initial expectations when going into this movie, or my initial thoughts before I went to go see this movie. Because I remember when the first trailer dropped and the whole movie was going to be CGI. I was not hyped for this. I was not ready for this. I did not think that this was actually going to be a success or good. But honestly, after watching the movie, it was pretty good. I think that this moving forward, yeah, so you thought I was gonna say, I'm not gonna say this moving forward, we should keep the CGI look. No. This actually fits the actual aesthetic for what the movie was going for, and I didn't think that I was gonna like CGI. I'm one of those type of people that usually when it comes to my anime, I don't really like to look at CGI. I don't even like to look at CGI for any of the small fight scenes. Like when it was included in Resurrection F or Broly, I thought it was alright, but I didn't think it was great. It kind of looks like a video game graphic to me. And with this movie, the CGI looks a little bit like the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot game. If you guys have played that game, you know what I'm talking about. It kind of looks like those graphics when it comes to the CGI. But honestly, it wasn't too jarring for me after a while when watching this movie. And I didn't know what the premise was really going into this movie, but sadly, Japan had some posters spoiling certain things happening in the movie, but I won't spoil you guys in this review right here. I'll do a spoiler talk later on in the review. I just don't know why they use these certain things to actually promote the movie, when I feel like if you would have went into it, it would have been a dope surprise. But also, you probably would have seen it coming either way. But before we actually get into a review, before I actually talk about the plot, some of the newer characters introduced, and some of my pros and cons, I'm gonna have to say, if you guys are not already, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and hit that post notification bell. Also, like the video if you haven't already. Follow me on all my other social media platforms. All my links will be in the description down below. So, let's go ahead and talk about Dragon Ball Superheroes, which I want to preface this right now. This is my favorite Dragon Ball Z/Super movie. Now, I know that's a pretty big role to give this movie, and I might have recency bias. I'm not gonna cap. I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan, so I also will be biased towards this movie as well. But honestly, this movie gave me stuff that I didn't know I wanted/needed. You get what I'm saying? But before we actually talk about this movie fully, timestamps will be included in the description down below. So if you actually want to see me talk about the plot, some of the newer characters, my pros and cons, and some of the spoiler talk, we're going to be doing a little bit of a spoiler talk at the end. So make sure you tune in to the video all the way. That way you catch those little tidbits. But if you haven't seen the movie yet, watch the movie, then you come back for the spoiler parts, and make sure you rewatch the whole video again. That way you can help run the watch time up on this bad boy. But let's go ahead and talk about the plot of this movie and what it's about. And I'm not going to spoil you guys too much. In fact, actually, I'm not going to spoil you guys at all. I don't even know why I said that. I'm not going to spoil you guys at all. I'm going to give you guys the premise that I knew of when going into this movie, because I didn't want any type of expectations or spoilers when going into this movie, because I just wanted to sit there and enjoy it and just have my mind blown with the animation, the action, and some of the plot. And I'm not going to say that Dragon Ball Super or Z is going to have the most in-depth plot when it comes to storytelling, but it's serviceable and I really enjoy it for what it is. So let me go ahead and give you the plot that was actually put on IMDb, so that way I'm not actually telling you things that you might not know going into the movie. The plot is basically about the Red Ribbon Army from Goku's past having returned with 2 new androids to challenge him and his friends. Like I said, that's all I'm going to tell you. That's all I knew going into this movie, and it's a pretty good plot for what Dragon Ball Z is. Now, I know we are touching Red Ribbon Army territory again, like we did in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and now we're doing it in Dragon Ball Super. But you know what? The Red Ribbon Army is here to stay, and I'm for it. These are the most persistent group of villains I've ever seen in anime, besides Team Rocket, obviously. Team Rocket, they just don't know when to stop. But besides all that, let's go ahead and talk about some of the newer characters introduced in this movie. Starting off with Magenta, Commander Red's son. Get it? Because Commander Red, the color red, and then Magenta, the color magenta. I liked it. I don't care what y'all think. I really liked it. We also have the character of Dr. Hilo, the grandson of Dr. Zero, and the 2 poster characters for this movie, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. Androids created by Dr. Hilo, and I have to say I love Gamma 2. He definitely has to be the standout out of all the new characters introduced. I love Gamma 2. He was pretty good in this movie, and man, I need a figure of Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. Sadly, Gamma 1 didn't really do anything or do really much for me in this movie, but Gamma 2, I think he might make up for that balance right there. And since this movie is a few years after the Broly incident, some of the characters we know and love have gotten a bit older, like Trunks, Goten, and Pan, who is now being trained by Piccolo. I think opening this movie with a scene like that was kind of near and dear. It hit me in the heartstrings right here. I loved seeing Pan get trained by her father's mentor. All we gotta do is get her in the robes, just like Gohan and Piccolo. I'm just saying, Toriyama, you can take that idea from me if you want, but I would do that if I was you. And that's about it for the actual new characters introduced. Now it's time for me to give you my pros and my cons, and I'm not gonna take too long on this part because honestly, I don't wanna set your expectations too high, but for a Dragon Ball Super / Z franchise movie, I really did love this movie. So let's go ahead and go into some of the pros. And my first pro has to be, this movie isn't the typical small story, fight for the rest of the structure. This movie is paced well and evenly balanced with fights here and there, spread out with some great character adventuring moments here and there. Actually having the main focus, not just being on the fight primarily for this movie, it was a very fun and enjoyable ride. Oh my gosh, this is such a good fresh air for the actual series. This gave me a bit of Dragon Ball vibes, I would say that, where, you know, you do a little bit of adventuring, you do a little back and forth with some of the characters, some of the main characters that you actually follow, and then you have the big fight at the end, which all anime actually has that if it's a shonen action. You get what I'm saying. My second pro has to be Toriyama's style shines through this with his comedy and satire for some of the usual things we have come to know and love about the franchise. Toriyama's one of my favorite mangakas, so to see him do what he did in this movie, and I'm not gonna say that it's outstanding, it blew me away. It's Toriyama. If you don't like Dragon Ball Z or Super, you're not gonna like it. I will say that his comedy could be a bit corny sometimes, but I fully enjoy it. I was laughing my butt off at some scenes in this movie. Third pro, the fact that they took a chance and let Goku and Vegeta take a seat from being the main stars of this movie. Yes. I never thought I'd see the day, with this movie primarily focusing on Piccolo as the main character, with Gohan taking the lead at times. It was like a fresh breath of air I never knew I needed or wanted. Trust me, when you watch this movie, I'm not gonna say, like I said, it's gonna just stray from the huge Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super narrative or story plot lines. It's not gonna stray too far from that, but to actually not have Goku and Vegeta be the main characters of this movie, in fact, they're barely in this movie. The most screen time they probably have is maybe 10 to 15 minutes max, and this movie runs for about an hour and 40. And this movie was good. And my last pro has to be the fight scenes, fight choreography, and the CGI. The fights look great in the CGI animation with great action tied with it. There were even some jaw-dropping moments, and the use of CGI, even in some of the non-fighting scenes, looked pretty good. I'm not a fan of CGI, like I said, but in this movie, it won me over. It showed me that CGI can be done well. I don't want this all the time, I'm not saying that, but I will say that in this movie, it was done really well, and I really liked it. I don't want to see any other movies of Dragon Ball Z with the CGI style. I know they're going to incorporate CGI here and there, but I don't think I want to see everything fully CGI. I kind of like where these new Dragon Ball Super movies are going with the different animation styles compared to the actual anime, with Dragon Ball Super having that Toyotaro look. Not Toyotaro, but the actual director, I forgot his name, but I'll put it on the screen, where it had that hand-drawn design. I really love that, and this whole CGI design for this movie, I really love that. I just think that with Dragon Ball Super, the doors have been open with different interpretations of the animation styles, and I really did enjoy that. But now it's time for me to stop riding the hype, and now it's time for me to tell you some of the cons I had with this movie, which there aren't really many, so don't hold your breath. You can hold your breath for this one. The animation took a bit to get used to. After the initial setup for the plot of this movie, I was used to the CGI, but this is one thing that scared me the most about this movie. Second con, some things are rehashed elements used from previous arcs and sagas from the franchise as a whole, and some of the new forms. We're not gonna really talk about the new forms right here. We're actually gonna get into that in the spoiler talk, but I wasn't feeling 2 out of 3 of them. 2 out of 3 I was not feeling the newer forms that were introduced in this movie. But now it's time for me to go ahead and give you guys my final verdict. Like I said, I didn't have that many cons. I really enjoyed this movie. Really, with my cons, I'm kind of nitpicking because I honestly enjoyed everything throughout this whole movie. So let me go ahead and tell you my final score before we actually get into the spoiler talk. Overall, I had a great time and enjoyed myself in this movie. It gave me new elements I never thought I'd see mixed in with some very familiar elements. I'm gonna have to give this movie a rating of either buy it on Blu-ray or see it in theaters while it is there. Please support this movie, guys. I am loving the trend of these Dragon Ball Z / Super movies coming into theaters, me actually going to go see them and having the ride of my life. Pause, having the ride of my life in that theater seat and just watching Dragon Ball Z on the big screen. What more can you ask for in life? You tell me. But now that we talked about my final verdict and now that we got some of my non-spoiler takes and views out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about some spoiler talk. And my first spoiler has to be Piccolo getting a new form. It's something we needed to help put him on par with the rest of the main cast, and him fitting in with the theme of a new color transformation isn't too jarring. Overall, I liked it. Second spoiler, Cell as the main bad guy. I'm glad they didn't make him the same Cell we knew from the Cell saga, but to rehash an old villain like Resurrection F was kind of to me. I get the point, but I didn't really like it. And last spoiler has to be Beast Gohan or Bestial Gohan. I don't know what his name is. I did not like this transformation at all. To me, it wasn't earned compared to other transformations, and it didn't have a good design. It falls into the stereotypical Dragon Ball hater joke of the hair just gets taller and more pointy when they transform. And he also had a different color hair. I just don't know how to actually scale or compare Gohan to others. Is this Gaki or not? But that's about it for the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie review. Let me know what your thoughts are on this movie down in the comment section down below. Let me know if you're actually going to go see this movie or if you're just going to go wait for the home release and buy it on Blu-ray when it does come out. Like I said, thank you guys for watching. If you are new to the channel, you have not already, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, post notification bell, like the video, and I got to give a huge shout out to the Patreon pledges for going ahead and financially supporting the channel. Guys, I highly appreciate what you guys are doing for me, financially donating on Patreon, and a huge shout out to the YouTube members for also financially donating on the YouTube side of things as well. Big shout out to Broke Boy Gang, because I'm part of Broke Boy Game, because these tickets costed $14 each. It was worth it though. It was worth it. But I'd like to say thank you guys for watching. Dark Sage out. Peace.